Well, hey guys, we are here at Academy stopping and getting some supplies for the 2017 hunting season. But we were talking earlier about some big bucks, and it got me to thinking about big bucks that I've shot. And so what we want to do each year is to dig back into the BuckVentures archives and at least pull out one big buck and go into detail with him. And that's what we're going to do this week right here. We're going to go into the life of Lucky and how I hunted this deer. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. Got him.
So, yeah, just move him around.
Well, hunting big bucks to me has got in my blood over the years. You know, I love to elk hunt, I love to do different things, but finding a big deer with these trail cameras, locating him and going into the, cat and mouse game, chess match, whatever you want to call it, that is what gets me fired up. Many times now, I get my tail handed to me, no doubt. But being able to find that buck and go after a buck is what drives me. I've learned to know that there's many times I'm gonna go empty-handed, but to go after that buck and be able to find that deer, maybe many days went by and find him, maybe just see him, that is what fires me up. And when it finally does come together and all of a sudden you've known this big buck, maybe he's 3, 4, 5 years old, and I'm able to catch up to him, it doesn't get any better than that.
That is a horse. A horse, man.
Growing up playing ball, team roping, calf roping, and having that competitive spirit, you want to compete at a high level, you find you a big 5-year-old or older and you go after him. That right there is competing at a high level. And then if you're lucky enough to successfully get it done, you've done something, I promise you. And that's what it's all about for me. Look at this deer. Thank you, good Lord.
Lucky's in the bottom with us. He followed 3 does out. They went in the bottom way up here. Who knows? I don't know if he's with them. I think he's one to be with one of them, but he might have left that hot dog. Something spooked him. That cow spooked him. Here he is, right here, Brent. Right here. I want to kill him.
Well, Lucky, we saw him, I think, the first time in 2010. He comes up, I knew he was a special deer, started just seeing him all over the ranch, The next year, we definitely 3 years old, he was a 150-inch type deer, knew he was special, and again, he was like the cat's meow. He was chasing does everywhere, but he had a knack. He had a knack for not getting too close to you. Very seldom could you get him in with 100 yards, but I knew he was a deer. We had the sheds out for him when he was 2 years old, 3 years old. I think he was 148 and then 155, and I knew he was going to be special, and I knew his personality, and I knew he was a deer that I wanted to keep my eye on because I definitely knew that he could explode into something really nice. So now it was 2012, and I was excited to see what he turned into. You know, trail cameras going out, and boom, right away, we get lucky with Velvet on. Unbelievable. I was so pumped up. And then, not only that, we got him with Velvet hanging off of him. This, I definitely knew at that time, 2012, I was going to dedicate, you know, to going after him. We knew that he was 4 years old, but we had pressure from the neighbors. Lucky was running all over the place, and we just put a deal on him that year that we're going to try to go kill this deer.
Oh!
We've elected, I don't have a bow with me. We're actually, part of this ranch is in Kansas. So we're actually setting in Kansas. And Oklahoma's about 200 yards from us. We can see the alfalfa really good. And we're just trying to find Lucky. We're just trying to lay our eyes on him and find him. And like I said, I didn't want to push the button, so we're basically in one of our big shooting houses on this ranch.
We were trying to be really, really careful and not hunt that ranch too much. And that's kind of always how I did that ranch up there, the Wallahatchie, is I would get on a hill and observe, and I never hunted it much, if you will. I always watched, and then I'd go in to kill. And then if I didn't kill, I'd step back out, we'd get on a hill and observe. We'd check cameras. And really, you had to do that ranch that way to be able not to educate these deer.
We spotted Lucky over here in Kansas, but he's heading to Oklahoma. He'll be in Oklahoma in about 45 minutes anyway.
Well, as I'm sitting there that night and Lucky steps out, well, right off the bat, I realized that he's with a doe.
We gotta have him break off that doe to be able to kill him.
But what it got me to doing is now trying to get how I was going to go after this deer. You know, the one thing about when a big deer has a doe, basically the only thing you can do is just get in his way. The calling's out. To watch him breed that doe that night was just unbelievable, world class to me.
That is a world-class deer right there. We made a good decision tonight to not hunt, just observe.
So I realized that night he was in Kansas, headed to Oklahoma, but it got dark and I really didn't know where he was going to end up.
Well, it's November 15th. Still got that picture of Lucky in my brain from last night. But we're back in his bedroom set. And we have no wind hardly at all. I mean, we got a little breeze and it's in the right direction. We got the decoy out again.
This tree is known to maybe you need that decoy to bring him in close. So I wanted to have that decoy right there 5 to 7 yards from the tree, just in case we saw one of those big deer.
The biggest problem we got is lockdown. We gotta have them. We're just waiting for them to get in between does. When they leave that doe, then that's our chance. That's how it's supposed to work right there. I thought he was lucky when he first come over the hill being Brandon bow.
Well, no more than the buck goes off from the decoy, and I look right back where that same ditch where the buck come from, and Lucky comes out of that ditch. I realized I just messed up You know, anytime a buck has a doe and you go to calling to him, the one thing he's gonna do is he's gonna keep her away from that sound. He don't want her coming to that. So I knew I messed up, but I knew now what I had to do is watch him carefully, see where they bedded down, and just to know where he was, I knew I was in the ball game.
I'm set up in some farm equipment here. Last year we videoed Lucky come right out of there and come right through here. And he very well could do it tonight.
Well, the evening of the 16th, I decide that I'm gonna go up on the alfalfa. Well, as the night progressed, I'm sitting there, it's a really good idea, and all of a sudden, field producer spots him, he's coming. He steps up on the edge there, and he's basically still with the doe. He can go wherever the doe is. The doe can either come towards me or can turn to the left. Those are basically the two options, and she chooses to go to the left. And what this does to me on that night, he is right in my way to get out. And so we end up electing to stay in for a long time that night. And then when we decided to go, we almost ran out of there. Just said, you know what, we're just gonna get out of here and hopefully don't spook him too bad. Well, the evening of the 16th, I decide that I'm gonna go up on the alfalfa. Well, as the night progressed, I'm sitting there, it's a really good idea, and all of a sudden, field producer spots him, and he's basically still with the doe. The next morning, I get up and we check the weather, hoping for a good wind, and sure enough, we got a good west wind, and we got a good east wind. That's basically what the weather's telling us it's gonna do. So, you know, just trying to be disciplined, we choose to stay on a hill that day, and I go to what I call lookout point where I can just see the world up there. And basically it was a good call for us. We didn't see a lot, we didn't learn a lot, but the one thing we did, we weren't in there messing up things with a bad wind. You know, that night I chose to kind of do something, go down and sit right just on the ground by a cedar tree, overlooking where I thought he might be, and we snuck in there, had a good wind, and got in there. We looked out on the alfalfa and saw him come out there. And, you know, just like always, he was visible, but man, he was hard to get close to. Well, you know, that night when I went in, I just started putting everything together with him. I saw that we were going to have a west wind. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go back to my bedroom set. I've got history there, and I've got history with Lucky there too. And I figured Lucky would be coming off the alfalfa that next morning and moving to the south. That next morning I parked the pickup about 2 miles away. We jumped on a buggy and basically kept the lights off the whole way in, drove to an oil well. We walked from there about a little over a quarter of a mile. We snuck up with the wind right in our face and crawled in that bedroom. I knew that we had a perfect entry that morning.
He just went in the bottom.
The one thing that I was going to be looking for was to see if he had a doe.
He followed 3 does out. They went in the bottom way up here. Who knows? I don't know if he's with them. I think he's with one of them, but he might have left that hot doe.
I wanted to be able to observe Lucky to find out if he was by himself, and that's what we have to do as hunters. We got to know that in that time of year. You know, it's November 17th. If you can get a big deer by himself, I knew that I could call to Lucky, and the kicker was November 17th was opening gun season.
Something spooked him. That cow spooked him. Where? To us. coming this way. Here he is, right here, Brandon. Right here. I'm going to kill him with a gun. Oh my God. Dude, Lucky is down. Gosh, Brad. Oh my gosh, guys, you have no idea. Oh. Man. Oh my God. I'm fixing to do something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. There's my stand. That stand right there's killed a lot of big bucks. It's just a single tree. You can see where this other tree fell down. I'm scared to even look at this deer. Oh, oh my. Look at the mass. Look at that deer. I tell you what, I'm sad that he's not going to be on the ranch, but I'm so thankful that one of us shot him to put on our wall, to put him on video so we could finish this story. I mean, this is such a special moment for me. The CVA Acra, this morning we shot it yesterday. It was dead on and shot him over here at 100 yards and 20-mile-an-hour plus winds without a rest. And to say I was nervous would be an understatement. I was a nervous wreck. That's a beast, boys. That is a beast.
Well, guys, here's Lucky today. Here's his sheds. This is his sheds when he was 2 years old. You can see he's definitely going to be a strong deer. And then at 3, he didn't do a lot. He did a little bit. You can see he had some really good, looked at a good 2, great 4, but a weak 3 there. And then you see what he turned into at 4. He actually netted Boone 171 and some change. He had 4 inches broken off, we're figuring here, would have been a 187-inch deer as gross. I was so happy. I mean, I remember that morning. I actually got chills right now, and I remember being so happy. But I do remember, and this may sound silly, but I remember a sadness coming over me because the ranch was going to change tremendously. You know, I knew leaving that day that I couldn't get in a tree stand again and have an option of looking for Lucky. He was gone. I hope to have another buck that means that much to me. You know, God puts special deer in your life to me. I mean, and that's what Lucky was. I've been fortunate to have a few of those deer, but Lucky's definitely he's at the top of the list. A deer that had a personality that almost grinned at you. Well, guys, as I reflect on this year, the BuckVentures shows, I want to leave you with this. It's something that's one of my biggest struggles. You know, I struggle with not putting myself first. I look around this world and I see so much evil. I see so much, even Christians being mean to one another. And I've been right there. And you know, right here in the Bible, it says in Matthew 22, starting at verse 37, this is Jesus talking. Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." And let me tell you, that's hard. And it's really impossible without Christ in your heart. So you have to start there, and you have to have Christ in your heart. And then you have to read this book on a daily basis. You have to be on your knees. And I believe as Christians, if we are and we're looking to Him and we have that on our heart to love our neighbors more than ourselves, we can, through God, change the world. God can use us as a tool to change things for Him. Remember, as we always say, shoot by sight, walk by faith.